just talked about the need for projects for the allow one to challenge himself and process see more. I want to say something about these aspects of projects doing something, especially as Africa is concerned. As an African, I really find it unfortunate that most Africans will not go along in stride. You know what is happening. Like you see some of the activities doing in the U.S. and Europe. With, Vesna and the rest. And this is because of the peculiar circumstances in most of the countries in Africa. People are really going through a lot. So much so that their minds are just focused on the survival, having the next meal, or having just being alive again, seeing another day. Well, I think you've just said that this doing something should not be, everyone can do anything, anywhere he is. And I think that is true because life sees everything. Life sees everything we do, and you can deceive others, but you can't deceive life. You can deceive people around you and all, but overall, the whole of life sees and everything one does. So Africans may not have these opportunities to exemplify, to show that they're actually doing something, which in itself is a handicap. But I think insofar as like growing your own food is concerned, I think Africa is way ahead in that, because you see, I can say 80 to 90% of Africans grow their own food. There are localities where in most localities there are no supermarkets, you know, or this only the open food market on special days or daily that you go there, and it's only the excess mostly the excess that is sold on the market. People are self-sufficient, and they have been doing so for decades, for the longest time, producing their own food. In fact, even the process of doing a farm is so laborious. Cutting down, you want to make a farm on a virgin area, you find you have to join some groups of you have people who team up in groups like men. They can help clear your area today. Next day they are at another friend's lot and all the like. So they tear down the forests, cut down the trees, and it's a Herculean task. You see how they are doing this. They might employ engine saws to do this, to create a farm somewhere, and they are not. Most often, some of the farms are out of the way. People have to trek there. They have to carry the food produced on their heads back home, on their backs, crossing rivers in boats, risking the boat being capsized eaten by crocodiles and all the like. So people go through it. People go through a lot, and there is nobody living in Africa who will tell you that is not interested in farm work, because rather than buy food in the market, always people will have a plot of, uh, have a piece of land. They can even hire it, uh, and they do their own. They do their own farming, they grow their own food. So on that head, they're quite self-sufficient. So this contrasts with what may have in the West, where well you have vertical farming now. People living in the cities, they feel containers, they grow food, micro farming, micro this and that. But the situation in Africa is quite different, and the challenge that they have there is coming together to do something, coming together, pulling resources together to do something. People are mostly concentrated on their own farming, individual farming. You see, and people want to be able to have control over their own food and feed their families, sell the excess, and all the like. So on the side of doing something in terms of farming, I think will not belabor that point in Africa, except want to have a demonstration farm. Let's say, okay, the new friends have come together and they are doing this, they have created this, and they're doing things together. Otherwise, people are already doing it individually, and they have been doing this for the longest time imaginable. Yes. So the other day, Kelsey sent me something on the hem crate, and I know I've been following up what is happening with the hemp culture in the United States and maybe Europe and all the like. Hemp is before it was banned in most of the world because of the abuse to which it fell under. It was a really versatile crop that could produce anything from food, clothing, paper, fuel, and all the like. But now it was banned, and most countries are yet to legalize hemp cultivation again. And in fact, you risk imprisonment if you just dare to talk about it, not to talk of having a farm. You see, so we expect that some of the developments in other parts of the world will be replicated in Africa. The government would gradually accept the fact that hemp is not an enemy of the people but a friend, and then colleges and universities would start studying it and using hemp for all the many things that it can do. You see, but for the moment, we don't have that. It's still a long way to go. So The videos that we watch just keep us hopeful that something will be done sooner than later in this part of the world where hemp was banned by every government. That we don't have programs like that in the university or talking about what hemp. Nobody. So gradually they'll come up, and the hemp culture would grow, and people would be able to use it without fear of persecution by the government. So those are some of the hurdles that we have in Africa, where certain things are still developing, they are yet to be introduced, and the difficulty is for people to band together to form societies. Many are, they do, no doubt, they do. But there's some kind of closely knit organizations like that, close, tight. You have you need a special pass. You must belong to that ethnic community to join it, to benefit from what is taking place there and all the like. So we have these challenges, but as you say, people can people can do whatever is handy because of this pulse of life in them. This ignition that of their real awareness. So they would do many things in many directions, some which cannot even be, we cannot imagine. They're in an African context, and we cannot even know what they are doing, you see, because some of their activities are not even documented. Some of the people doing whatever they are doing, they don't even have the chance to come online. They don't even know that, understand that they can even share their experiences from their activities and all the like. They might not even have the means of doing so. So I think Duane has put the final nail on the coffin of this discussion. People should do whatever they can do where they are, and I think it will be suited to the particular circumstances in which the people find themselves. Thank you, Duane.
Yes, I know, Charles. Everything's a challenge. I know, and I know that for some people, the view with what I'm doing and what I've presented, it seems like, oh, okay, you can just write this and you can put it out there. Well, yes, it's not widely accepted. Very few people look at it, from especially with it spread out as it has been all over the world, etc. And so all I can do is use the idea that we're doing here, and Val and Kelsey came and moved in, helped me pay the rent plus what we're doing, and then Henry and others have stepped up to take part in what we're doing. So we've just taken on this project as we can, and I understand that. So I can't say what Africans can do. You know what they can do, and yeah, what I see is, if it's possible, you have all those people there, and many of them are struggling, like you say, day to day. Well, just like I was struggling, and so Val and Kelsey came and helped provide, and so I can keep doing what I'm doing here, and others have stepped up too, which is really cool. And if I were there, I would talk to people, and these people that are struggling. This is that documentary I saw many years ago. I told you all these women got together and created their own bank, and they did it. And then they started loaning out money to themselves. So, but they started something. And so, if it's to get people together, if you have a house or a place to live, and your neighbors and whatever, and everybody's starving, well, okay, well, maybe for a while it's going to be uncomfortable, but everybody move in with each other as an example and help everybody else help pay the rent and do their thing. So it becomes like a community. That's what we're doing here. It's something. And in a way, we're living like the Africans. We're got this little 2-bedroom place here, and it's very small, but it's fine. And this is what we're doing. We're just creating this function. And so the Africans, I can see them struggling, but I would suggest, especially in the group there that Miriam's got, and the people seem to be finely dressed and whatever, but, for many people, that's an inconvenience for them. But then again, what makes sense? So you create the demonstration. If you don't, you don't. But it's possible, isn't it? So I'm not saying to do it or not, but it can be possible. So there are things that are happening. But I'm just saying this is what I, try to relay to people, because the challenge of anything, okay, you become more aware through that challenge. And this is why we're here. We need the challenge to wake up. Again, this is where just because you have the knowledge that it's taken for granted, the knowledge is to lead you to that experience, and etc. And yes, things are happening on the real side, like the experiences that you shared. But at the same time, I see the world. I'm concerned about the world itself. This is why I'm here too. Why would I come here? Why would I do this? Because there are people here that want to wake up also. So again, that's just an idea. That's just an idea to, yes, everybody's in their routines, and everybody's done their routines. And so I see that also. So I'm not doing the routines everybody else. I've decided not to do the routines everybody else has decided to do. Just like at the college, as an example. The college is just a place. It's an example. They don't have concerts like we do. No, there's just musical concerts where everybody just sits, applauds, and they're happy for a few moments because they got their thrill. Okay, they were entertained. What we're doing brings up huge opposition. Just like the hemp thing you're talking about. Why did they outlaw hemp? Because it's very useful, and they don't want things that are useful. Just like over here, they don't want natural foods. They want pharmaceuticals. They arrest people over here for that. If you get too healthy, I'm amazed anybody gets by with selling anything that's so-called organic or whatever, because they're usually arresting everybody for everything over here. They want everything controlled by the FDA, etc. So just the very fact that what we're doing at the college, no one else is doing it for the most part. Oh, they have an Earth Day and all that, like that, etc. But what we're promoting, no, basically not. And, they do promote certain things, but not like what we're doing. And everybody else seems to be doing fine, but we get the biggest resistance, from what we're doing, which is fine. Just fine. It's the adventure. It's a Robin Hood adventure, Robin Hood doing what he's doing. The Sheriff of Nottingham doesn't like that, but that's okay. The sheriff is fine. He's part of the adventure, part of the wake up. So all I'm saying is that through these projects, through the challenge of doing something that you haven't done before, you become more aware. And it really matters here too. It's just not on the real side. It's here. It's bringing it through here, which reflects also the real side. It goes back and forth. Yes, it all supports each other. It's very, very important. But again, you decide. You decide to take on the challenge or not. If I were there, like as an example in Miriam's group, I would take a look at what's going on, and I would at least bring that out. Just like what Val's doing when he goes to these club meetings. I didn't even know they had clubs at the college, because when I was in there in 2013, I didn't know about it. We didn't have time to investigate that, and Valerie never told me about it. She had went there for 5 years. I didn't know, but anyhow, Val discovered all this. We're part of the clubs. And then there was a concern where the so-called money that we're raising for, which we haven't raised any, for the concert is going. That was a big concern of theirs. Again, they're looking at the money. Why would they be concerned? They weren't the last time we were there. Now all of a sudden they're concerned. So we had to talk about this, and I said, well, why don't we just suggest to them, hey, we'll all split the money. They can have, everybody take a share of the money. Fine, they can have some of it too. Doesn't matter. We just want to do the concert. We just want to bring this awareness in. So again, it's taking on this challenge, and the more we get into it, the more resistance there is. Yes, there will always be resistance there, Charles, just like anything. And again, if I were there, I would take a look around and I would suggest that. And it's like, well, let's try this. Let's see how this works. Let's do something different. Everybody's paying the rent on their houses and their places and whatever. Let's try something different. I've done so many things, and it can work, and it can be a demonstration. I don't know, but at least it gets people out of their routines. It gets them to do something that they haven't done before. It gives them a challenge. I don't know, but it would be something. That's just one idea. But if you keep stating what has always been done, then that's what will continue. That's it. If we didn't go into the college and create this idea, then it wouldn't exist. But now what we've done is now the whole college knows about us. Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. They know, they're investigating us, etc. Where most people out there were presented to them, they don't care, etc. And I know a lot's going on in Africa. Same thing here. It just appears different. It's no different. It's no different here. Really, realistically, it's actually worse here. It's actually worse. But it looks good, doesn't it? Disneyland and, all the stuff that's here. Yeah, there's nice places. Well, look at Africa. Look at Kenya. Look at the beaches now. This place is awesome. Look at the animals and just everything that's there. Africa is awesome. Yeah, there are things happening there. There are things happening all over the world. And so, again, I like to do, this is just me, I like to do things that are indifferent to the routines that I've always done. This is where I left my happy home. And I left the girlfriends that I had too at the prime, not at the bottom when things were miserable, because they weren't, but at the prime when things were really good, I left. Why did I leave? Why would I do that? Because I knew that there was more to do. I always took on the challenge. I always took the risk, and it didn't always feel good, or it wasn't always good. But the thing is, I made it through to here, and I see that now being here through all that I've been through, because I left all that behind, it's more important because of what the world's doing. I could have stayed self-satisfied too. I could have stayed in my old routines. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying is that this is how it's done. Even though things, just like the experiences that you shared, okay, and these individuals and certain things are taken care of. Just like the healings of Jesus. Great. Okay. How long did they last? How long will that last to where, yeah, things are zapped for the moment. Like people have cancers and all of a sudden, they take pills or, vitamins or chemotherapy, whatever, and it's gone. Will it come back? Well, of course it will. This is how situations are here. And through these experiences, yes, people have gotten help. And it's great. The new man's there, whatever, or the real guides are there. That's great. And now people, for the most part, they'll do the new you and they'll expect that. Will they recognize a bigger picture? Will they step up and do something? You see, that's what it's all about. It's not to where, yes, at times we all need help. Just like when we were raised by our parents, we need help. But at a certain point, we're to recognize and stand real with the whole of life. And if we're not able to take on these challenges in the personal self for what's going on, especially in the world, then how is it that we can stand real in the real universes and take on the challenges of all of creation and life itself? We're being prepared. These things are very small, very minute, and they seem like inconveniences. I've been inconvenienced basically my whole life through this, but I did it, and I got it here to bring this out. I had to go through a lot to figure this out, to bring this out. So did Paul. He went through a whole lot. He was very frustrated at times and went through a whole lot. And even with the business, the membership he created, and this is the same way too. I have to maintain myself because it's huge. And even though there's a couple of us, I have the world to deal with because the world is watching, always watching. Especially the big boys want to stamp it out. They just want to stamp it out. Well, Rebs and the boys can do whatever, but we all need our experiences to wake up at the same time too. We need those. So that's all I'm saying, young man, is what will people do to get out of their normal routines? Will they do it? Will they do something different? Or will they justify it to where this is how it's always been and we can't do it comparatively? That's fine. And then that's where things stay. So if I didn't decide to do this event at Orange Coast College, it wouldn't exist. And we wouldn't be going through the challenge. And what would Val and Kelsey be doing? Sitting around here doing what? Yeah, we do Facebook and whatever. That's something. But to actually go out there and do this, you can ask them, is there a difference? I would say there is. There's a big difference. Yeah, so again, each person decides, Charles. And so again, there's always something. I look at the world and how things have been built. I'm amazed. The Empire State Building, the Panama Canal, etc. They built those in the 30s, etc. They built those giant gates. These are people. They did something. They took on the challenge. I don't think that was their day-to-day lifestyle. They took on the challenge. They did it. They did something. They demonstrated something. And so again, something can be demonstrated. And this is the best part, when you really start to do it, when you really start to do something you've never done before and get out of the routine, you know what? You really like it. Because now you start to see what real freedom is. You're breaking the old routines. You're taking on the challenge of the unknown, especially if you don't know what you're doing. That's the best part. Yeah, it's not about what you know. You already know that. It's about what you don't know and taking on the challenge of something you don't know. I set up the New Presentations nonprofit. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. I just signed up, sent it in, whatever. I talked to the IRS. They tried to explain certain things to me. And I told them, I said, I don't know what that is. And, they got a little frustrated. It's like, well, I felt like saying, you know what, I really don't care. Because again, I only did it for one reason. And that was to provide something, take on the challenge. I didn't have to create the nonprofit. I really didn't. But I went through the struggle and the nonsense of it. So that because I knew that others would benefit from it. It would be beneficial in a way. It would get us through doors. Just like when I got my contractor's license. I didn't want to get my contractor's license. I was fine without it. But by taking on the challenge, I knew that when I did, I was able to do more jobs, which I did, and I expanded upon it just by taking on the challenge of something I hadn't done before. And I was working construction. I was fine. I could have just stayed in that routine. But I decided to take on the challenge of that. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I could have run my business any which way at all, but I kept it simple, etc. So again, it's taking on that challenge of what you don't know. But if you see it and you can make sense of it, there's that movie City Slickers where near the very end, they were left with this herd of cattle. And hey, they weren't cattle drovers. But there was the idea, a couple of them said, well, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the city. And then one or two of them said, no, let's not. We have to do that. And, they're sitting there saying, well, we don't know how to do this. Well, yeah, exactly. But you figure it out real fast. And so we only have a few moments here realistically to figure out something and take on the challenge. But if we live for the old routines, then that's all we have. Look at the world, Charles. It lives off the old routines. Yeah, you're going to risk your life. Are you afraid to die? Are you afraid to forfeit everything that you've ever known? You see? So again, and I'm not talking about dying, but the thing is that when you take the risk, guess what? Life steps up. And you'll be amazed at what happens. If I was over there, I'd take the risk to grow the hemp trees. I don't care what the government says. You know, who is the government anyhow? You know, who is anything? Look at all the people that took the chance to grow marijuana over here and finally got through it. You see, as an example. And that was lethal. And marijuana's nothing. It really is nothing. But look at all the people that took the chance to do it. And finally they got through it. They stood up and they got it through. It's not legal everywhere, but it's becoming more so because they stood up, you see. They stood up and they did it. And they took the risk. Anything can be gotten through, anything at all. But if you just look at the restrictions and routines and tradition, then you'll fade away with them. Because they'll always be here. They'll never change unless you step up. And we're not rebelling into college. We're handling it. We're dealing with it. We're facing it. We've created this position and we're going through it till something better comes along. But other than that, well, we just do what we do. We'll see how it comes out. But yes, Charles, it's always doing it's moving out of that comfort zone, out of those routines, and just to see if what you can do. I've always liked this. This is why I decided these things. And you know, it starts to leak through after a while. It starts to get to people. That's why you're here. That's why everybody's here. If I didn't do any of that, you wouldn't be here. If I didn't decide to take the risk and do what I did off the wall, everything, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't see this. Where would you be? See, this is what life's all about, you know. It's waking up to more than the restrictions that we've known and agreeing to the restrictions of others. I have to deal with what I deal with, but at the same time, you know, we're going to do what we want because what we're doing is wonderful. We're not bothering anybody, but people are bothered by us. That's their choice. And we're showing them how they're bothered by themselves. We're not bothering them. Okay? What they're really saying is they don't want to see any more, you know, than they already see. Well, you know, this is what we do. You know, we're the real light. This is what we do. So, sorry, we're here. And figure it out or don't. And so, again, yeah. The challenges are necessary, Charles. It's for the world. You're doing it for the world. You make those few steps, you're doing it for the world. The whole world will see that. That's how I see it. And the world is seeing what I'm doing. And it's bothered. But you know, at the same time, there's a lot of people that are waking up too. So eventually I see it to where, hey, they're going to see us. And they're going to want to be part of what we're doing. Because they see we make sense. We don't just obey the rules and the old routines and tradition. We make sense of what we're doing. Because we're wonderful.